Okay, folks. Today's episode will be a direct reply to Ezekiel because he asked on my last video, can you please do a series on how to do rack routing and how to put cables on CVs, stuff like that. I'm not quite sure what I could show you, Ezekiel, but I will give you a quick rundown of the basics. So now we only got Dr. Octarex and its corresponding mix channel, and both are connected from the main out of Dr. Octarex into the input of the mix channel. If I threw in some effects just by dragging it in, it automatically reroutes all the cables. So the Dr. Octarex now goes into the maximizer, and the maximizer's out goes into the input of the mix. So it's a simple serial cabling going on here. Same goes with every other effect. It just extended the lane and go on with the following effect. But what if I need to cable myself? So for instance, in a combinator situation where you just want to quickly deploy some effects into a combinator so you could start routing. In this case, you want to hold down Shift whilst dragging and drag your effect anywhere you want. And as you see, I dropped it in between those two effects without it getting cabled. If you want to cable that, we just hold down Shift and drag the unconnected effect upwards until this orange ball appears, and let go, and now it is in serial in the right order connected to our signal chain. If we, for instance, want to change the order of our effects section, we would typically drag this up until the orange dot appears where we want to deploy it. But as you see now, wait a second, you could press K to reduce the cables, and every time you click on another effect, you see just their inputs and outputs and even other cables that are connected, maybe CV or something. But as you see, the order now goes 1, 3, 2, and that's not what we want. So to just switch out the effect in the right order, you need to hold Shift. And as you see, it just switches between 1 and 2 if I drag them on top of each other. So Shift is a very handy knob to press here in this situation. There's one thing more I wanted to show you, because left and right are coupled. So if you press the left output of something and put it into the right input of something, you automatically get the right channel connected as well. If you want to avoid this, just press Shift. So there is no automatic routing of the right channel. So for instance, you could use this now on another effect to split left and right with different effectation. But as you see, I put the right output into the left channel. That's because if you look at this diagram right here, it shows left goes through, right not, or both channels come through. This means if you put it into the right channel, nothing would happen. So if you split your channels left and right, make sure your right channel always goes into left on the following effect. There are some cases, like this master compressor, for example. If you look at its diagram, it clearly says left channel also always gets summed to both output channels. So even if you run a mono signal in here, like a guitar or a vocals or something, you would get a stereo output. That's nothing to worry about. Just keep this in mind. On almost every device are these diagrams somewhere. Even the older ones or even the newest. There are multiple ways. Synchronous, for instance, has mono to mono, mono to stereo, dual mono, so each channel is independent from each other, combined stereo, and the last one, I don't know right now what this means, but that's also stereo. So you should keep this in mind whilst playing with effects, because some effects can be treated differently than others. Okay, let's get to CV. I'm not really a CV person for myself, but some of the basics I could get down here. So we just reconnect this to an audio channel or mix channel. And to note, there is always a CV in and a CV out. A CV out means that we got a value that's changing, like the LFO, for instance. Let's bring this up. This is the LFO section here. And we could say high and low. So rectangle wave. We need to sync this. We could put the rate to 1/4, so every fourth will be on a high or a low state in this case. And we could send our output signal, so our trigger, so to say, to something that has an input. So if I put this, for instance, on the master volume, and let's drag this up, our LFO now controls our master volume. So if I run this, so we get stops here and there because LFO is turning down that master volume. We could use this on a mod wheel, for example, and the mod wheel options are here. In the current state, just the frequency is affected. So if we run it now, we only get an open or closed frequency value. But you could also deploy cables to other instruments. You're not just limited on the instrument itself. You could say, for instance, if we put this gain reduction out into the pitch wheel, so to say, every time this indicator bar goes green, the effect will occur. And this little black rotary here gives us the modulation strength. So we could tune this down. Or bring this up as we want to. We take polytone, for instance, and apply 2 or 3 effects that got modulation inputs. So we take our V7000 and a quartet chorus ensemble and a compressor. We are somehow limited by these cables we find on the back here, because we could modulate even more. So if we select all these effects while holding shift, so clicking the first, holding shift, clicking the last, will always select them all, and we choose to combine it in a combinator, we get even more options. So as you see, we got 8 CV inputs here with a dedicated switch for each input that defines if it's bipolar, so positive and negative values, or if it's unipolar, so it only goes from 0 to 1 or something. This heavily changes the way CV works, but we also get the option, if we just connect something here like the gain reduction of the compressor to CV1, we are now able to say source is CV1 in, and our target is the dry and wet of our verb. We get access to a value that otherwise couldn't be automated. So there is no CV input for the dry and wet knob, but we get access through the matrix. And also a cool thing here is we could set our minimum and maximum values. So if I place this like this and we scroll down whilst playing something, you see, as the gain reduction goes down, the dry and wet makes a jump. Let's switch this to unipolar. As you see, as I turn up the ratio, the effect gets more value, so the effect here is more dominant. You even could say you want to invert this just by dragging the left side over the right side and adjusting this. You could say, if my sound is loud, there should be no reverb or less reverb, and if my sound goes quiet again, the reverb should swell up. As you see, if I press, the reverb goes down, and if I let go, the reverb goes up again. So this is a very cool trick to use it, and you could set up as many things as you like, and even distribute it to other effect values. So we could say every time CV1 hits, we want our target to be the gain out. We could do that. So every time I hit a note, the output gain compensates for that. So this is an extreme example for that. We could also use the pulsar dual LFO to check if we like an effect or even not. So we could say this LFO1 goes to the mod depth of the quartet, and we get something weird, but we always could tune this down, and we also could tune this down via the level of LFO1. We could apply this to the width. So these are some basic examples of CV routing. As I said, I'm not really the smartest guy when it comes to CV, and there are plenty of dudes out there that are that go nuts with this. They mostly got more CV routing in the rack than anything else. There's one thing I didn't talk about in this. This is the Spider CV merger and splitter. So if you got any CV source, you could always combine multiple CV sources into. Okay, this wouldn't make sense, but you could always combine or merge CV signals into one other signal, as well as you could split this off into 3 other outputs, and even an inverted one. So it would be the exact mirrored thing. I don't know if this is an English term or not, but it would be mirrored. So if you are interested in more CV stuff, you should also check out Jiggery Pokery or Hamu. They made some great CV tools. For instance, this LOL's CV delay splitter, so we not just get a split of our audio, but we also could delay it if we want to. I guess that's everything I know about CV. There's probably more to explore, but I'm not really the right person for that, to be honest. There are plenty of guys out there that, as I said, they go nuts with CV cabling. Yeah. That's all for today. Have a nice day. See you next time. Bye.